I really don't know what to say now after those contributions from Sinn Féin. I really don't, and I'm disappointed that I have to say this, because I sat through contributions a couple of weeks ago in relation to arson attacks, and I really expected better from Sinn Féin. And I remember one contribution which didn't mention arson at all. It was all about the immigration system and consultation and all the rest of it. And many of the contributions from Sinn Féin there were laudable and said the right thing and things I'd absolutely agree with. And there's members of Sinn Féin in my own constituency who are doing the hard work to fight back against extremism and racism and bigotry. But I have to say, some of those contributions there today, I really do wonder. I really do wonder where Sinn Féin are going, why they're running to the right, why they're pitting vulnerable people against each other, and also, it's remarkable how you try to make a constructive comment about other people's presentations here, but it's quite clear as to why. It's quite clear. It's quite clear. It's quite clear as to what. Well, I have to be honest in my contribution about what is happening here, and I did notice when Sinn Féin marched in behind the government and voted to cut social welfare payments for Ukrainian refugees. I remember that. I noticed it, and I was wondering what was going on, and now it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me, because the protesters are winning, the roadblockers are winning, the arsonists are winning, because Sinn Féin are going to the right on immigration. It's working. It's working. It's working. Now, I would say this, Minister, I was in a position like yours 10 years ago. I didn't have to deal with what you have to deal with now. I didn't have to deal with the issues that you had to deal with currently. We didn't have the numbers. We didn't have racists in the Dáil in the same number as you have to deal with, or in the Shannon. But I did have a partner in government who was unsympathetic, which is what you have. And I also had to deal with, I have to say this, a permanent government which are institutionally racist. And what I used to hear when I was in the department at the time, not the same department as yours, but the department that was dealing with this issue, was pull factor, pull factor, pull factor, pull factor. And I do actually feel as if there is a percentage thought within the permanent government that wants to see images of people in tents in Mount Street, because it suits the agenda. Don't come here. Don't come here. And Minister, I always think in politics you're either part of the solution or part of the problem. And I don't think that you are part of the problem. I think you're part of the solution. And I think, you came into government with a fair-minded view of direct provision to get rid of it, to nationalise it as it was, not to be dependent on the private sector. And I applaud you for that vision. And I think if it wasn't for the Ukrainian crisis, you would have delivered on it by now. And I can absolutely accept that all these things you have to deal with are difficult. You are getting zero support from your partners in government. That's clear. That's been outlined as well by my colleagues in the Social Democrats, who I should have originally thanked for putting down this motion, which says a lot about their ethics and their value system. This is the sort of imagery that they want to have. What I would have thought would have worked 2 weeks ago with Mount Street, Minister, if you yourself or a high-ranking official in your department had gone down to Mount Street and given that leadership and say, no, this just isn't acceptable, and spoken to the incredible local community organisers, most of whom are women, local women, who totally put to bed this idea that women need to be afraid of asylum seekers, who came in down to the street, engaged with them. I've witnessed it myself, handing over shoes, handing over clothes, handing over food, organising a rota of care. Then we also had medics down there looking after them. We had people advocating for them, speaking about the spread of disease, scabies, etc. And the men themselves, some of whom were minors, were very appreciative of the efforts. But then you couldn't help, Minister, that Saturday to be pretty taken aback by how dramatic it was. How dramatic it was that a bus rolls up, or a number of buses roll up, They're sent somewhere that they don't know where they're going, and then Dublin City Council come in, having previously slashed the tents individually, then collect them with a big picker. I was talking to one man who just got an email from the IPO saying that there was accommodation organised for himself in Dundrum. He didn't know where Dundrum was. And I accompanied him over to the office. Now, by the way, the women themselves locally had paid for some taxis to go from some of the men to Dundrum because accommodation had been organised for them. And I went in with him to the IPO office, and I asked him, how is this man supposed to get to Dundrum? And they had no answer for me. They pointed to where the Lewis stop was, they pointed to where the bus stop was. This man had no English, he was completely disorientated. He was clearly in a vulnerable situation. He had to try to trust me. So we gave him cash, we put him in a taxi. The taxi man was very, very sympathetic, and off he went to Dundrum. But I just thought there was some basic lack there of humanity within the system to facilitate that man to get to where the email had told me he had to go. And I think Deputy Whitmore said it very eloquently, that I think we've forgotten that these are human beings. We've forgotten that they're human beings. We've forgotten the humanity in their eyes. We are consistently dealing with them as statistics or numbers that we just have to get down. And it is as a direct result of government policy that was initiated last December. And it's going to get worse because the clock is already ticking on the 90 days that Ukrainian refugees have, new arrivals, in our system, accommodation for them. After 90 days, are we not pretty sure that we're going to have Ukrainians in around Mount Street or other parts of the city or the country under the same conditions? So, Minister, I think you know all this. We have never had a time in Ireland when elections were determined by immigration, where debates in here were about immigration, where people played the race card, but it's happening now. The only time it ever happened was 20 years ago, the first time I ran for a local election, when there was a citizenship referendum at the time. And it was a 78% vote for people in favour of restricting citizenship rights for Irish-born children. I didn't think we'd go back there again. And the fact that we're back here again is not your fault, because I know you're trying to do the right thing. But we have to have a basic level of humanity in how we deal with these things. And as things were done, and I'll finish on this account, Corda, the way things were organised last Saturday just speaks to a basic lack of respect. That there wasn't even that simple compassion of information and care for those individuals as to where they were going to next, explaining as to where they were going, what the facilities will be like, and how the process is going to benefit them and empower them. I believe we can do better, Minister, but I believe you need more support. Other government departments are not stepping up. The Department of Defence isn't stepping up, the Department of Education isn't stepping up, and absolutely the Department of Housing is not stepping up. But I think all parties in this House need to be part of the solution and not fastly becoming part of the problem.
Thank you.